Hey, sixth graders, happy Friday. We got some work to do today. And hopefully you can just finish it up today and go into the weekend with a nice, it's supposed to be nice, I think. A little steamy, a little humid. All right, today, so in class, we're going to spend a little more time with Mr. Slavy and Miss Mare to ask some questions. Then we're going to go continue our art of interviewing. So I'm going to dive right into that. Yesterday, talked about this interview primer exercise where students walked around, and most people they got one interview. We're trying to shoot for two. So we'll spend a little time in class kind of going around and see who we can get, because first hour is different than second hour. So there might be more people available. The other thing is just want to remind you that, again, teachers are not scary. Adults are not scary. You just got to approach them with humility, and then they'll respond. Now, again, these questions here are trying to get you to hear a story or sort of link to a story, and that's going to be something that may or may not happen. It's not a right or wrong thing. We'll do this in class. We'll kind of go and see what kind of stories we have. Then I just want to talk about, briefly, what we're heading into is our finding the origin story of someone who's lived an interesting life. There's stories all around us. And in fact, if you knew me well enough, there's a lot of stuff you probably don't know. My story about wrestling's interesting. My near-death experiences, didn't tell you about those. Film industry, the story of my children, the death of my father, cancer. These are all stories that are who I am. They make me who I am, and finding those out connects us. And I'll tell you real quick, this is how, one of the reasons this assignment came about is because this is my friend Mike Hauk, okay? He's a teacher in Chaska. Kind of looks like me a little bit, right? This is him because he was our first ever Greco-Roman world champion in the United States. He's a Hall of Famer. And here he is teaching tech ed out in Chaska. This guy he was the best on planet Earth at something, and he was the first American in his way. So that's just a teacher that was sitting there, every day saying hi to kids and making connections, and no one bothered to ask. So the whole point is this, again, getting you to understand that there are level 1 questions that give you basic information, dates, timeframes, names, places. They're usually yes and no and short answers. You do need to get that information, but it's these level 2s where you start getting more deep, right? If you ask someone what about, or why did you do something, or how did you do something, like how has wrestling impacted your life? Holy cow, I'm going to give you a long answer. Then we have those level 3, which is really about people who reveal what they believe or their philosophies or their deep rooted opinions. So how would you explain what are your beliefs about? It gives you someone's life view. This is the better, deeper story about something. This is who's, what you believe. And in terms of examples, if I asked Mr. Tidwell a couple of questions, like where did you grow up? He'd tell me Gary, Indiana. Where did your early years? Actually, he'd do this. And Bloomington, Minnesota. Did your early years affect you? Yeah, big time. Anything interesting? All right. These are all very simple, right? When I go and start asking better answers, or better questions, so Mr. Tidwell, what's growing up like for you? Boom. Suddenly we got ourselves a waterfall of information because he could start telling me his life story. And what happens is when you start getting one story, then you want to ask different questions. This is just the skeleton. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little time today. And in Schoology, I have 2 stories, very short, very, very short, about Kaylin Moore and these twins, murderous twins. They're very different stories, entirely different stories. One is very inspiring and one is just really bizarre and weird. So I'm going to have you read both those. And you don't have to comment on them. I just want you to read them. They're linked in Schoology right here. Right there. They're linked right there. And then the next steps is we need to choose a subject. So this is our focus today, right here, is our dream subject, okay? Because you're going to choose today who you would love to interview if there's anyone, and who you can get. That's called pragmatic. So if you think about this, our wish list is it's a dream, I should say, one dream subject. So I use the same language. It's unlikely, right? Chances are you're just not going to get this person, and that's okay. But who would you want to dream about interviewing. And then you're going to try to write down at least 3 questions that you want to ask them. Then you're going to write down 1 pragmatic interview. Pragmatic means practical or reasonable or very doable. Something's pragmatic, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. So that's the deal for today. That's all I want, is that you've done some interview practice. We've talked about some interesting people. Now you're just going to start picking like who would be interesting to interview. All right. Anyone's available: teachers, adults, people in your life, uncles, grandpas, parents. So whatever is easy to get, like everyone can get access to a teacher. But like I'll tell you that I was really interested about seeing this is Kumail Nanjiani. Like this guy, I really, really, really wanted to sort of see if I could research him. So I did some research and I sent out an email to see if he would get back to me. He didn't. So honestly, it was not something that felt it. I tried, right? Couldn't interview him, but that's the whole thing, is I didn't expect to. So yeah, that's the only thing for today is the discussion post. Write down 1 dream subject, someone who you would dream and wish to interview, and 3 questions you would ask them, and then 1 really likely interview, someone that you know you could get, that you would love to interview and find more out about. Do not pick someone that you know a ton about. I'd pick someone that intrigues you. Like maybe there's even a teacher that's like, they're kind of interesting. Okay. All right. That's work for today. Everyone have a good weekend. Bye.